The camera never lies, but people sure as hell do. I discovered this truth on a Tuesday morning while shopping for my wife's birthday present, standing in the jewelry store like an idiot with a $2,000 necklace in my hands, listening to Tessa through the phone speaker tell someone she'd bring the wine and that he won't suspect a thing. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My name is Grant Holloway, and I'm a commercial photographer who apparently specializes in missing the obvious shots right in front of my face. 42 years old, decent at my job, terrible at reading my wife's lies. The irony wasn't lost on me that I could spot a fake smile through a camera lens from 50 feet away, but couldn't see the deception sitting across from me at breakfast every morning. "Sir, are you all right?" The jewelry store clerk looked concerned. I realized I'd been standing there for 5 minutes, holding the necklace like it might explode. "Actually, I think I'll pass," I said, setting it down carefully. "Turns out my wife already has everything she needs." The drive home felt longer than usual. Denver traffic gave me plenty of time to replay that phone conversation. Tessa's voice had that breathless quality she got when she was excited about something. The same tone she used to have when talking about our weekend plans, back when we actually made them together. These days, Tessa Marlowe, she kept her maiden name for business, was always busy with her interior design firm. Client meetings, site visits, networking events. She'd built quite the reputation in our mid-sized city, designing homes for the wealthy folks who lived in the hills overlooking downtown. I was proud of her success, even if it meant I saw less of her. Maybe that should have been my first clue. I pulled into our driveway, noting that Tessa's BMW wasn't there yet. Good. I needed time to think. Our house was one of her early projects, all clean lines and expensive fixtures that looked great but felt cold, like a magazine spread you weren't supposed to actually live in. Inside, I poured myself a beer and sat in my home office, surrounded by photography equipment and prints from various commercial shoots. Product photography wasn't glamorous, but it paid well and gave me flexibility. Flexibility I'd apparently been using to give my wife space to do whatever the hell she was doing. My phone buzzed. Text from Tessa. "Working late again. Don't wait up. Love you. Love you." 2 words that used to mean everything, now feeling as hollow as a studio backdrop. I opened my laptop and did something I'd never done before. I checked our joint credit card statements online. Nothing unusual jumped out at first. Restaurants, gas stations, her usual boutiques. Then I saw it. AirBnB charges. 3 of them in the past month, all on days when Tessa claimed to be at client sites. My hands shook as I clicked through the details. Mountain cabin rentals, 2-person occupancy. The beer suddenly tasted like ash. The next few days passed in a strange haze of forced normalcy. Tessa came home Wednesday night with stories about difficult clients and design challenges. I nodded and smiled, playing the supportive husband while my mind cataloged every detail that didn't add up. Thursday morning, she announced another client retreat. "It's a big project," she said, not meeting my eyes as she packed her overnight bag. "A complete home renovation up in Vail. The client wants to walk through every room, discuss vision, you know how it is." "Sounds intensive," I replied, watching her fold lingerie I'd never seen before. Black lace, expensive. "New underwear for client meetings?" She laughed, but it sounded forced. "I bought these weeks ago, Grant. You just don't pay attention anymore." Maybe she was right about that last part. After she left, I called my best friend Joel Martinez, an IT specialist who'd helped me set up my digital photography systems. Joel had always been straight with me, even when the truth hurt. "I need a favor," I said when he answered. "And it's going to sound crazy. Crazier than the time you wanted to photograph that wedding in the middle of a thunderstorm?" "Shoot." "I think Tessa's having an affair." Silence. Then, "Shit, man. What do you need?" Joel came over that afternoon with his laptop and a grim expression. "You sure you want to know? Sometimes ignorance really is bliss." "I'm sure." He showed me how to access location data from our shared phone plan. Tessa's phone had been pinging cell towers near Breckenridge yesterday, nowhere close to any client sites I knew about. Joel also found the Airbnb listings I'd paid for, all romantic mountain getaways with hot tubs and fireplaces. "There's more," Joel said quietly. "I did some digging on your contractor friend Evan Cross." Evan. Tessa had mentioned him several times recently, a contractor she'd been working with on various projects. Handsome guy, I'd met him at a few social gatherings. The kind of man who wore his confidence like expensive cologne, making sure everyone noticed. His credit card statements show charges at the same restaurants as Tessa's. Same dates and times, Joel continued. And get this, he booked a cabin this weekend. Same rental company you've been paying for. The room felt like it was tilting. I gripped the edge of my desk until my knuckles went white. "Grant, I'm sorry, man, but there's something else you should see." Joel pulled up Tessa's social media profiles. Nothing obvious, but when he showed me the metadata on her photos, a pattern emerged. Pictures supposedly taken at client sites were actually geotagged at restaurants, hotels, and scenic overlooks, all places she'd been with Evan. My wife wasn't just cheating on me, she was documenting it. That evening, I sat in my office staring at a bottle of whiskey, trying to decide if getting drunk would help or make everything worse. My phone rang, Tessa calling from her client retreat. "Hi, honey," she said, her voice artificially bright. "Just wanted to check in. The client is being really demanding, so I might need to extend this trip another day." "That's fine," I heard myself say. "Take all the time you need. You're the best, Grant. I don't know what I'd do without you." After she hung up, I opened my laptop and started typing an email to Rachel Kim, the best divorce attorney in Denver. Then I stopped, deleted it, started over. I wasn't ready to lawyer up yet. First, I wanted to understand exactly what I was dealing with, and maybe, just maybe, I wanted Tessa to have a chance to come clean. That was my mistake. Friday morning brought 27 voicemails from my wife. I'd turned my phone off Thursday night, needing space to think. When I powered it back up over coffee, the notifications came flooding in like a digital avalanche. 27 messages, starting around midnight and continuing until 6 a.m. The first few were casual. "Hey, call me back when you get this." By message 5, concern crept in. "Grant, your phone is going straight to voicemail. Is everything okay?" Message 10 showed the first crack in her composure. "I'm getting worried. Please just text me that you're alive." But it was message 15 where things got interesting. "Look, I don't know if you found something or if you're just busy, but we need to talk. There are things I should have told you." My coffee grew cold as I listened to my wife's voice become increasingly desperate, increasingly revealing. Message 21 was a masterpiece of guilt and manipulation. "I know you know about Evan, but it's not what you think. He pursued me, Grant. I was lonely, and you were always working, and I made a mistake. Just one mistake." "One mistake? Right." Message 24. "Please don't take everything away from me. I'll end it with him, I swear. It was just closeness, Grant. It didn't mean anything. You're my husband. You're the one I love." The final 3 messages were pure panic. "I'm coming home. We're going to fix this. Don't do anything stupid. Don't call lawyers. We can work this out." I saved every single voicemail. Then I called Joel. "It's time to move." He arrived within an hour, bringing coffee and a legal pad covered in notes. "I've been thinking about this all night," he said. "If you're going to do this, you need to be smart about it. No emotional decisions. Everything has to be calculated." "I'm listening." "First, document everything. Every lie, every fake story, every dollar she spent on this affair. Second, protect your assets. That photography business is yours, and you've been funding her lifestyle. Third, control the narrative. In a town this size, reputation matters. He was right. Denver might be a decent-sized city, but the social circles Tessa moved in were small and interconnected. Word traveled fast among the wealthy clients and professional networks she'd cultivated. "What about Evan?" I asked. Joel's smile was sharp. "Leave him to me. I've got some ideas." That afternoon, while Tessa was presumably racing home from her mountain retreat, I visited my bank, transferred funds from our joint accounts into my business account, money I could prove I'd earned and deposited. I wasn't stealing, I was protecting what was mine. Next stop, Rachel Kim's law office. Rachel was a compact woman in her late 30s with steel-gray eyes and a reputation for destroying cheating spouses in divorce court. Her office walls were covered with framed newspaper clippings about high-profile cases she'd won. "Mr. Holloway," she said after I'd explained the situation, "I have to ask, what are you hoping to achieve here?" "Justice," I said. "And I want her to understand that actions have consequences. Justice is expensive and messy. Are you prepared for how ugly this could get?" I thought about those voicemails, about the months of lies, about the lingerie I'd never seen, and the romantic getaways I'd unknowingly funded. "She made it ugly first," I said. "I'm just going to make sure everyone sees it clearly." Rachel nodded slowly. "Then let's get started." Tessa arrived home Friday evening like a tornado in designer clothes, bursting through the front door with wild eyes and an overnight bag clutched in her manicured hands. "Grant, thank God you're here. We need to talk." I was sitting in the living room, a glass of wine in my hand, looking perfectly calm. I'd spent the afternoon practicing this moment in the mirror, working on my expression like I was preparing for a photo shoot. "Hello, Tessa. How was your client retreat?" She stopped mid-stride, studying my face for clues. "It was fine. But Grant, about those messages I left—" 27 messages, I interrupted. I counted. That's a lot of panic for someone who was just working late. Her face went pale beneath her expensive makeup. "You listened to them." "Every single one, very enlightening. Especially the parts about Evan Cross and your mistake." I took a sip of wine, maintaining eye contact. "Though I'm curious, which mistake are we talking about? The first time you slept with him? The second? Or maybe the romantic cabin getaways I've been unknowingly funding?" Tessa's overnight bag hit the floor with a thud. "How long have you known?" "Does it matter? What matters is what happens next." She moved closer, her voice taking on that soft, persuasive tone she used with difficult clients. "Grant, please, let me explain. You've been so distant lately, always buried in work. I felt invisible in my own marriage. Evan was just there. He listened to me. He listened to you in 3 different mountain cabins, apparently. Very thorough listener. Don't be cruel." "Cruel?" I stood up, setting down my wine glass with deliberate care. "Tessa, you've been lying to my face for months. You've been spending our money on romantic getaways with another man. You've been coming home to me after being with him, kissing me with the same mouth that—" "Stop." Her voice cracked. "Please stop. The truth is cruel, isn't it? But here's the thing. I'm done being the oblivious husband. I've already spoken with a lawyer." The color drained completely from her face. "You didn't. Rachel Kim, I think you know her reputation." Tessa sank onto the couch like a deflated balloon. "Grant, please. Don't destroy our marriage over this. I'll end it with Evan. I'll do anything to make this right. You should have thought about that before you started documenting your affair on social media. Did you really think I wouldn't notice the geotagged photos, the restaurant receipts, the matching credit card charges?" She looked up at me with something approaching respect, mixed with her fear. "You've been busy." "I'm a photographer, Tessa. I notice details. It's what I do." My phone buzzed. Text message from Joel. "Package delivered." I smiled, and Tessa noticed. "What was that?" she asked. "Oh, just a friend letting me know he completed a project for me. You remember Joel Martinez? He's very good with computers and research." "Grant, what did you do?" "Me? Nothing illegal, nothing unethical. I just made sure the truth had room to breathe." As if on cue, Tessa's phone started ringing. She looked at the screen and went white. "That's Carla," she whispered, referring to her business partner. "Grant, what did you do?" "Answer it," I said. "Let's find out together." With shaking hands, Tessa accepted the call. "Hello?" Even from across the room, I could hear Carla's voice, sharp with anger. "Tessa, we need to talk. Now. There are some very interesting photos making the rounds on social media. Photos of you and Evan Cross at locations that don't match your expense reports." Tessa's eyes met mine across the room. In them, I saw the exact moment she realized this wasn't going to be a private conversation between husband and wife. This was going to be very, very public. "I'll be right there," she said quietly, ending the call. "Business meeting?" I asked innocently. "You bastard," she whispered. "Careful, Tessa, your mask is slipping." Saturday morning brought a phone call that made everything worth it. "Grant?" The voice belonged to Patricia Cross, Evan's wife. "I hope you don't mind me calling. I got your number from the directory. We need to talk." Patricia was a kindergarten teacher, soft-spoken and kind, the type of woman who baked cookies for school fundraisers and remembered everyone's birthday. She deserved better than Evan, and we both knew it. "Of course, Patricia. What can I do for you?" "I saw the photos, the ones that are circulating online. I had no idea." Joel's package delivery had been more thorough than I'd expected. He'd created a simple website, anonymous, untraceable, featuring a timeline of Tessa and Evan's affair, photos pulled from their social media accounts, cross-referenced with dates and locations, credit card receipts, hotel bookings, a comprehensive documentation of their relationship presented with clinical precision. The site had been shared in several local Facebook groups, particularly ones focused on home renovation and interior design, Tessa's professional circles. "Patricia, I'm sorry you had to find out this way." "Are you?" Her voice was stronger now. "Because honestly, Grant, I'm grateful. I've been wondering why Evan's been so distant, so secretive. Now I know." "What are you going to do?" "What are you going to do?" she countered. "I filed for divorce." "Then I guess we're in the same boat." After Patricia hung up, I made myself breakfast and settled in to watch the show. My phone had been buzzing all morning with calls and texts from mutual friends, neighbors, and acquaintances. Word was spreading through our social network like wildfire. The most interesting call came from Madison Pierce, one of Tessa's closest friends and the biggest gossip in our neighborhood. "Grant, honey, I just wanted you to know that some of us suspected something was going on. Tessa's been acting so strange lately, all secretive and defensive." "Has she?" "Oh yes, and that Evan Cross. Well, let's just say his reputation precedes him. This isn't his first affair, you know." "I didn't know that, but it was good information." "Really?" "Patricia isn't the first wife he's cheated on. There was an incident a few years ago with a client's wife. Very messy, cost him several contracts." "Interesting. Grant, I hope you know that most of us are on your side in this. What Tessa did was unforgivable." After Madison hung up, I realized something important. I wasn't just fighting for my marriage or my assets. I was fighting for my place in the community we'd built together. And I was winning. Tessa came home Saturday afternoon looking like she'd been hit by a truck. Her usually perfect hair was disheveled, her makeup smeared. She'd clearly been crying. "The firm is suspending me pending an investigation," she said without preamble. "Someone sent the partners documentation of my fake expense reports. That's unfortunate. Don't play innocent, Grant. I know this was you. Actually, it wasn't, but I can't say I'm surprised. Actions have consequences, Tessa. You used company resources to fund your affair. That's embezzlement. She stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. "Who are you? This isn't the man I married." "You're right," I said. "The man you married was naive enough to trust you. This is who I am when I stop being a fool." "Grant, please, can't we try counseling? Can't we work this out?" "With what?" "You're suspended from your job, probably about to be fired. Your lover's wife is divorcing him, and from what I hear, his business is already suffering. Your friends are choosing sides, and guess what? Most of them are choosing mine. You've destroyed my life." "No, Tessa, you destroyed your life. I just made sure everyone could see the wreckage clearly." My phone rang. Rachel Kim. "Grant, we need to meet. Tessa's attorney contacted me this morning." "She hired a lawyer?" "She did, and they're making some interesting claims." Monday morning in Rachel Kim's office felt like a war room briefing. She had documents spread across her conference table and an expression that could cut glass. "Tessa's attorney is claiming emotional abandonment," Rachel said without preamble. "They're arguing that your neglect drove her to seek affection elsewhere." "That's ridiculous. It's also predictable, but here's where it gets interesting. They're also claiming you've been emotionally abusive throughout the marriage and that she was afraid to leave." I stared at her. Afraid of what? I've never raised a hand to her. I've never even raised my voice until this week. "They don't need proof of physical abuse, Grant. They just need to create doubt. Make you look like the bad guy." "Can they do that?" "They can try, but we have something they don't expect." Rachel smiled for the first time since I'd met her. "Documentation. Lots and lots of documentation." She was right. Thanks to Joel's research and my own careful record-keeping, we had a timeline of Tessa's affair that was impossible to dispute. We had evidence of her lies, her fake expense reports, her systematic deception. "There's something else," Rachel continued. "I've been digging into Evan Cross's background. Madison Pierce was right. This isn't his first affair. There's a pattern here." She showed me a folder thick with information. Evan had been married twice before Patricia. Both marriages ended in divorce due to infidelity. His construction business had been sued multiple times by clients who claimed he'd overcharged them or delivered substandard work. "The man's a serial cheater and a con artist," Rachel said. "And now he's your wife's problem." That afternoon, I had an unexpected visitor. Carla Brennan, Tessa's business partner, stood on my doorstep looking uncomfortable but determined. "Grant, I hope you don't mind me stopping by. I wanted to talk to you about Tessa." "Come in." Carla had always been the more practical of the two partners, focused on the business side while Tessa handled design and client relations. She was a sharp woman in her mid-40s who didn't suffer fools gladly. "I want you to know that the firm is terminating Tessa's partnership," she said once we were seated in my living room. "The expense report fraud is just the tip of the iceberg. We've discovered she's been billing personal expenses to client accounts for months." "How much?" "Nearly $15,000. Restaurants, hotels, shopping trips, all charged to clients who trusted us with their money." I felt a mix of satisfaction and genuine sadness. Tessa had built her career over nearly a decade, developing a reputation as one of Denver's most talented interior designers. Now she was throwing it all away. "There's something else," Carla continued. "Several clients have called asking about the photos circulating online. They're concerned about their privacy, worried that their personal information might be compromised if Tessa was this reckless with her own life." "Are they pulling their contracts?" 3 already have. More are considering it." After Carla left, I sat in my office thinking about unintended consequences. I'd wanted to expose Tessa's lies and protect myself legally. I hadn't anticipated how thoroughly her professional life would collapse. My phone buzzed. Text from Tessa. "Can we meet, please, just to talk?" I stared at the message for a long time before responding. "My lawyer advises against it." "This isn't about lawyers, Grant. This is about 15 years of marriage. You should have thought about that before you decided those 15 years weren't worth staying faithful for. Please, One conversation. I'll come to you. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Tessa arrived that evening looking like a ghost of herself. The confident, polished woman I'd married had been replaced by someone hollow-eyed and desperate. She sat across from me in our living room like a supplicant seeking mercy. I lost everything today, she said quietly. My job, my clients, my reputation. Even my parents won't return my calls. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Really? I considered the question seriously. I'm sorry it came to this. I'm not sorry you're facing consequences. Grant, I know I made mistakes. Stop. I held up a hand. Don't call them mistakes. Mistakes are accidental. You made choices. Deliberate, calculated choices. You're right. She looked down at her hands. I made choices, and I chose wrong. Why, Tessa? That's what I can't understand. We had a good life. We were happy, weren't we? I thought we were just existing, she said softly. Going through the motions. You were always working, always focused on your photography. I felt like I was invisible. So you decided to become visible to Evan Cross. He made me feel desired, important, like I was the center of someone's world. You were the center of my world. You just never bothered to notice. We sat in silence for a moment. Outside, I could hear our neighbor's dog barking, the sound of normal life continuing while ours fell apart. What happens now? Tessa asked. Now you figure out how to rebuild your life, somewhere else. Grant, please, can't we try to work this out? I'll do anything. Anything except the one thing that might have saved our marriage, being honest from the beginning. I was scared you'd leave me. So instead, you made sure I'd have to. My phone rang. Joel. Grant, you need to see the news. Turn on Channel 7. I grabbed the remote and switched to the local news. The anchor was discussing a story about professional ethics and social media in the digital age. Then I saw it. Footage of Tessa and Evan at a restaurant, clearly intimate, with a caption reading, "Local interior designer suspended amid fraud investigation." Tessa saw it too and went white. Oh God. The story's gone citywide, Joel said through the phone. It's trending on local Twitter feeds. I hung up and looked at my wife. You wanted to be the center of someone's world, Tessa. Congratulations. You're the center of everyone's world now. She started crying then, deep sobs that shook her whole body. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to hold her like I had during other crises in our marriage. But that man, the trusting, forgiving husband, was gone. I need you to leave, I said quietly. This is my house too. Actually, it's not. I bought this house before we married. It's in my name only. My lawyer checked. You can't just throw me out. I'm not throwing you out. I'm asking you to leave. There's a difference. Where am I supposed to go? Maybe Evan has room for you. Oh, wait, I heard Patricia threw him out too. The cruelty of that comment surprised even me. Tessa looked up with red-rimmed eyes. I deserve that, she said. You deserve a lot of things, Tessa, but my forgiveness isn't one of them. She stood slowly like an old woman. I'll pack some things. Take your time, but be gone by tomorrow. As she headed upstairs, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This isn't over. You destroyed my life. I'll destroy yours. Evan. I smiled and forwarded the message to Rachel Kim. Threatening texts from your wife's lover were exactly the kind of evidence that looked great in divorce court. The war was just getting started. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of legal meetings, document reviews, and phone calls from reporters. The story had grown beyond local interest, a cautionary tale about social media, professional ethics, and the digital age of infidelity. Tessa had moved in with her sister across town, but the damage to her reputation was spreading like wildfire. 3 more clients had terminated their contracts, and the interior design firm had officially expelled her from the partnership. Evan Cross was faring even worse. His construction business had lost 5 major contracts, and Patricia's divorce attorney was going after him for everything he had. The man who'd seemed so confident and successful was now facing financial ruin. I should have felt satisfied. Instead, I felt empty. "You're having second thoughts," Joel observed during one of our regular check-ins. We were sitting in my office, surrounded by the photography equipment that had built my career. Not second thoughts, just processing. Processing what? Whether I've become someone I don't recognize. Joel studied my face. "Grant, what did you think would happen when you decided to fight back?" "I thought I'd feel better." "Do you regret it?" I considered the question carefully. "No, but I don't feel victorious either. I just feel done. That's probably healthy." My phone rang. Rachel Kim. "Grant, we have a problem. Tessa's attorney is claiming you've been harassing her." "That's impossible. I haven't contacted her since she moved out. They're saying the continued social media attention constitutes harassment. They want a restraining order." "Can they get one?" "They can try. But Grant, there's something else. They're claiming Tessa is pregnant." The world tilted sideways. "What?" "She's claiming she's carrying your child, and that the stress of the divorce is endangering the pregnancy." "That's impossible. We haven't been intimate in months." "Then we'll demand a paternity test." "But Grant, this changes things. If she's pregnant, regardless of who the father is, it complicates the divorce proceedings." After Rachel hung up, I sat staring at my computer screen, trying to process this new development. If Tessa was pregnant, and if the child was Evan's, it would be the final humiliation. If it was mine, I didn't know how to feel about that possibility. My doorbell rang. Through the window, I could see a familiar figure on my porch, Patricia Cross. "I hope you don't mind me stopping by again," she said when I opened the door. "I have some information you might find interesting." "Come in." Patricia looked different than she had during our phone conversation, stronger somehow, more determined. "Evan came by yesterday begging me to take him back," she said once we were seated. "He's lost everything, and he thinks reconciling with me will help his reputation." "What did you tell him?" "I told him I'd rather be alone than be with a man I can't trust." She paused. "But he said something interesting. He claimed Tessa was planning to leave you anyway, long before their affair started. He said she'd been planning it for over a year." "Planning what?" "To take you for everything you're worth. According to Evan, Tessa was researching divorce attorneys months before their affair began. She was building a case against you." The room felt cold suddenly. "What kind of case?" "Emotional abuse, neglect. She was documenting every argument, every time you worked late, every moment of marital tension. She was planning to claim you were an unfit husband who drove her away." And then she met Evan. And then she met Evan. And her plans changed. Instead of a calculated divorce, she decided to have her cake and eat it too. Keep the marriage for financial security while having her affair for emotional fulfillment. I stared at Patricia, processing this information. "How do you know Evan is telling the truth?" "Because he showed me some of the documentation. Photos Tessa took of you during arguments, recordings she made of your conversations. She was building a case, Grant. You just happened to discover her affair before she could execute her plan." After Patricia left, I called Rachel Kim and shared what I'd learned. "That explains a few things," Rachel said. "The pregnancy claim, the harassment accusations, they're trying to execute her original plan. Paint you as the villain and her as the victim. Can they succeed? Not with the evidence we have. But Grant, this is about to get very ugly. Are you prepared for that?" I thought about the past month, about everything I'd learned about deception and betrayal and the price of truth. "I'm prepared," I said. "Let's finish this." The pregnancy turned out to be a lie. Rachel's demand for medical documentation exposed Tessa's latest deception within 48 hours. There was no pregnancy, no endangered child, no medical emergency requiring special consideration in our divorce proceedings. Just another lie in a marriage built on lies. Your wife's attorney is furious, Rachel informed me during our meeting Friday morning. They're claiming Tessa was confused about her condition due to stress. Confused? It's a face-saving measure. They can't admit she fabricated a pregnancy, so they're claiming emotional distress caused her to misinterpret symptoms. What happens now? Now we go to court. They've run out of delay tactics. That afternoon, I received an unexpected phone call from Carla Brennan. Grant, I need to ask you a favor, and I'll understand if you say no. What kind of favor? Tessa contacted me yesterday. She's asking for her client files back, claims she needs them to start her own practice. And? Those files contain information about clients who've already terminated their relationships with our firm because of her actions. I'm concerned she might try to contact them directly, maybe even badmouth the company to protect her own reputation. What do you want me to do about it? You know her better than anyone. Do you think she's capable of sabotaging the firm out of spite? I thought about the woman who'd lied to my face for months, who'd stolen money from clients to fund her affair, who'd fabricated a pregnancy to gain advantage in divorce proceedings. Yes, I said. I think she's capable of exactly that. Then I need to ask, would you be willing to testify about her character if this becomes a legal matter? Carla, I'm already testifying about her character in divorce court. This would be different. This would be about business fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, the kind of charges that could result in criminal prosecution. Criminal prosecution. I hadn't considered that possibility. Let me think about it, I said. That evening, I was editing photos in my office when my doorbell rang. Through the window, I could see Tessa on my porch, looking desperate and determined. We need to talk, she said when I opened the door. My lawyer advised against. Screw your lawyer, Grant. This is between us. She pushed past me into the house, and I caught a whiff of alcohol on her breath. Tessa had always been a light drinker, but stress was apparently changing her habits. You're drunk. I'm desperate. There's a difference. She stood in our living room looking around like she was seeing it for the first time. God, this place is cold. How did we live here for so long? What do you want, Tessa? I want you to call off your dogs. My dogs? Your lawyer, your friends, the media vultures. I want you to stop destroying my life. I'm not destroying your life. Your choices destroyed your life. My choices? She laughed bitterly. Grant, you were destroying our marriage long before I met Evan. You just never bothered to notice. How was I destroying our marriage? By being absent. By caring more about your precious photography than about me. By treating me like a piece of furniture in this museum you call a home. So you decided to cheat. I decided to find someone who actually wanted me. I wanted you, Tessa. I just didn't realize I had to compete for your attention. Compete? Her voice rose. Grant, you never even tried. When was the last time you planned a romantic evening? When was the last time you surprised me with anything other than indifference? When was the last time you were honest with me about anything? We stared at each other across the room, two people who'd once loved each other enough to promise forever, now separated by an ocean of hurt and betrayal. I came here to ask you to drop the divorce, Tessa said quietly. That's not going to happen. What if I told you I'd end things with Evan? What if I promised to be the wife you wanted me to be? What if I told you it's too late for promises? Grant, please. I'm losing everything. My career, my friends, my reputation. Don't take my marriage too. You already took our marriage, Tessa. I'm just making it official. She started crying then, but these tears felt different from the ones I'd seen before. These felt genuine. I'm scared, she whispered. Of what? Of being alone, of starting over, of everyone knowing what I did. For a moment, I felt something like sympathy for her. But then I remembered the voicemails, the lies, the months of deception. You should have thought about that before you chose Evan over our marriage. I chose excitement over routine, Grant. I chose feeling desired over feeling invisible. I chose passion over whatever we had become. We had become married, Tessa. That's what marriage is, choosing each other even when the excitement fades. And what do we have now? Now we have the truth. Finally. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, smearing her makeup. The truth is ugly. Yes, I agreed, but it's ours. The divorce hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday morning in late October. I sat in the courthouse waiting room with Rachel Kim, watching lawyers and clients stream past us toward their own reckonings. Remember, Rachel said, answer only what you're asked. Don't volunteer information. Don't let them bait you into anger. I understand. And Grant? Whatever happens in there, you've already won. Tessa destroyed her own credibility with the fake pregnancy claim. The judge isn't going to be sympathetic. Through the glass doors, I could see Tessa sitting with her attorney, a nervous-looking man who'd probably taken her case out of desperation for clients. She was wearing a conservative blue dress, her hair pulled back severely. She looked like she was playing the role of wronged wife. Mr. and Mrs. Holloway, the bailiff called. You're up. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected, more like a conference room than the grand chambers I'd seen in movies. Judge Martha Reynolds was a stern-looking woman in her 50s with silver hair and intelligent eyes. Tessa's attorney went first, painting a picture of a neglected wife driven to infidelity by an emotionally absent husband. He talked about my long work hours, my focus on my photography business, my failure to nurture the marriage. Your Honor, he said, Mrs. Holloway made a mistake, but that mistake was born out of loneliness and neglect. She's willing to work on the marriage, to attend counseling, to rebuild what was damaged. Then it was Rachel's turn. Your Honor, this case isn't about a lonely wife making a mistake. This is about a systematic pattern of deception, fraud, and manipulation. She presented our evidence methodically. The fake expense reports, the documented lies, the timeline of the affair, the fabricated pregnancy claim. Mrs. Holloway didn't make a mistake, Rachel continued. She made dozens of deliberate choices over many months. She chose to lie to her husband. She chose to steal from her clients. She chose to fabricate a pregnancy when her other deceptions were exposed. When it was my turn to testify, I spoke calmly about discovering the affair, about the months of lies, about the financial fraud. Mr. Holloway, Tessa's attorney said during cross-examination, isn't it true that you were planning to leave your wife before you discovered her affair? No, that's not true. Isn't it true that you had already contacted a divorce attorney? I contacted an attorney after I discovered evidence of her affair. But you never tried to save your marriage, did you? You never suggested counseling or attempted reconciliation. It's difficult to reconcile with someone who's lying to your face every day. When Tessa testified, she painted herself as a victim of circumstance. She talked about feeling neglected, about Evan pursuing her aggressively, about making a mistake in a moment of weakness. I love my husband, she said, looking directly at me. I made a terrible mistake, but I want to save our marriage. Mrs. Holloway, Rachel said during her cross-examination, how many times did you meet Mr. Cross for romantic encounters? I don't remember exactly. Would it help if I showed you the credit card receipts, the hotel bookings, the restaurant charges? It wasn't that many times. According to the evidence, you met with Mr. Cross at least 15 times over a 4-month period. Does that sound like a single mistake made in a moment of weakness? I was confused. I wasn't thinking clearly. Were you confused when you submitted fake expense reports to your employer? Were you confused when you lied to your husband about client meetings? Were you confused when you fabricated a pregnancy? I never fabricated. Mrs. Holloway, you claimed to be pregnant, and then admitted there was no pregnancy when we demanded medical documentation. What would you call that? Tessa's composure finally cracked. I thought I might be pregnant. The stress was making me sick, and I thought you could manipulate the court proceedings with a false claim. That's not true. But the damage was done. Judge Reynolds had heard enough. I've reviewed the evidence in this case, she said after both sides had finished. This court finds that the marriage has broken down irretrievably due to adultery and fraud committed by the respondent. She granted me the divorce, awarded me the house and my business assets, and ordered Tessa to pay restitution for the fraudulent expense reports. As we left the courtroom, Tessa caught up with me in the hallway. Grant, wait. I turned to face her one last time. I'm sorry, she said. For all of it. I know that doesn't change anything, but I needed to say it. Thank you, I said. That means something. Does it really? It means you're finally telling the truth. She nodded, tears in her eyes. What happens now? Now you figure out how to rebuild your life, and I figure out how to rebuild mine. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? I considered the question seriously. Maybe. Someday. But Tessa, I'll never trust you again. She nodded like she understood. Take care of yourself, Grant. You too. I watched her walk away down the courthouse corridor, her heels clicking on the marble floor. 15 years of marriage, ended with a judge's signature and a few final words. Rachel appeared at my side. How do you feel? Free, I said. Finally free. 3 months later, I heard through the grapevine that Tessa had moved to Phoenix, trying to rebuild her interior design career in a city where nobody knew her story. Evan Cross had declared bankruptcy and moved back in with his mother. I sold the house, too many memories, and bought a loft downtown, closer to my studio. I threw myself into my photography work, taking on new challenges, exploring creative projects I'd neglected during my marriage. Joel helped me set up online dating profiles, but I wasn't ready for that yet. I needed time to remember who I was when I wasn't being lied to. One evening, while editing photos in my new loft, I got a text from Patricia Cross. Saw your work in Denver magazine. Beautiful stuff. Hope you're doing well. I smiled and texted back, thanks, taking it one day at a time. That's all any of us can do, she replied. She was right. The future was uncertain, but it was honest. And after months of living in a world built on lies, honesty felt like the most precious gift imaginable. I turned back to my computer, to the photos waiting to be perfected, to the life I was building one true moment at a time.